Professor Yoon's The Evolution Theory from the Viewpoint of Christianity, the thorough analysis of the descent or origin of man, Lecture 4, Chapter 2, on the manner of development of man from some lower form. 2. Rate of increase. Civilized populations have been now under favorable conditions, as in the United States, to double their numbers in 25 years. At the former rate, the present population of the United States, 30 million in 1871, would in 657 years cover the whole terraqueous globe so quickly that 4 men would have to stand on each square yard of surface. Under the unfavorable conditions like this, it is impossible to live in comfort, but we now are not in such a serious trouble. Consequently, checks of some kind, either periodical or constant, must have kept down their numbers. We cannot say what the precise nature of these checks were. No doubt, in this case and in all others, many checks which are periodical deaths, disease, wars, crowded and miserable house, severe epidemics, deaths of infants, etc., would conquer under different circumstances. However, man could spread in all directions on the surface of the earth and conquer other animals, because he was superior to others in spite of his being in a state of nature. Natural selection. Man is variable in body and mind. The variations are induced either directly or indirectly by the same general causes and obey the same general laws as with the lower animals. Man has spread widely over the face of the earth and must have been exposed during his incessant migration to the most diversified conditions. They must therefore occasionally have been exposed to a struggle for existence, and consequently to the rigid law of natural selection. As a result, beneficial variations of all kinds will thus either occasionally or habitually have been preserved and injurious ones eliminated. Man in the rudest state in which he now exists is the most dominant animal that has ever appeared on this earth. He has spread more widely than any other highly organized form, and all other have yielded before him. He manifestly owes this immense superiority to his intellectual faculties, to his social habits, which lead him to aid and defend his fellows, and to his corporal structure. The discovery of fire probably is the greatest ever made by man, excepting language. These several inventions, by which man in the rudest state has become so preeminent, are the direct results of the development of his powers of observation, memory, curiosity, imagination, and reason. Although the intellectual powers and social habits of man are of paramount importance to him. We must not underrate the importance of his bodily structure. Man could not have attained his present dominant position in the world without the use of his hands, which are so admirably adapted to act in obedience to his will. But the hands and arms could hardly have become perfect enough to have manufactured weapons or to have hurled stones and spears with a true aim as long as they were habitually used for locomotion and for supporting the whole weight of the body, or so long as they were especially fitted for climbing trees. For many actions, it is indispensable that the arms and the whole upper part of the body should be free, and he must for this end stand firmly on his foot. To gain this great advantage, the feet have been rendered flat, and the great toe has been peculiarly modified, though this has entailed the almost complete loss of its power of prehension. It accords with the principle of the division of physiological labor prevailing throughout the animal kingdom, that as the hands become perfected for prehension, the feet should have become perfected for support and locomotion. However, with some savages, the foot has not altogether lost its prehensile power, as shown by their manner of climbing trees and of using them in other ways. If it be an advantage to man to stand firmly on his feet and to have his hands and arms free, then there is no reason why it should not have been advantageous to the progenitors of man to have become erect or bipedal. From his preeminent success in the battle of life, there can be no doubt. The best built individuals would in the long run have succeeded best and have survived in larger numbers. The gorilla runs with a sidelong shambling gait, resting on his bent hands. The long-armed apes use their arms like clutches, swinging their bodies forward between them. Some kinds of hylobates can walk or run upright with tolerable quickness, but they move awkwardly and much less than man. Here we see, in short, in existing monkeys, a manner of progression intermediate between that of a quadruped and a biped. It is very difficult to decide how far these correlated modifications are the result of natural selection and how far of the inherited effects of the increased use of certain parts or of the action of one part on another. The reduction or complete disappearance of the canine teeth in male ruminants apparently is in relation with the development of their horns, and in horses in relation to their habits of fighting with their incisor teeth and hoofs. No doubt these means of change often cooperate, though structural change is largely aided by the inherited effects of habit and slightly by the direct action of the surrounding conditions. I have two distinct objectives in this view. Firstly, to show that species had not been separately created, and secondly, that natural selection had been the chief agent of change. At least I have, as I hope, done good service in aiding to overthrow the dogma of separate creations. Conclusion. The variations were formally induced by the same general causes and governed by the same general and complex laws as at present. As all animals tend to multiply beyond their means of subsistence, so it must have been with the progenitors of man, and this would inevitably lead to a struggle for existence and to natural selection. Man is one of the most helpless and defenseless creatures in the world. He would have been still more helpless during his early and less well-developed conditions. He adduces the naked and unprotected state of the body, the absence of great teeth or claws for defense, the small strength and speed of man, and his slight power of discovering food or of avoiding danger by smell. However, we should bear in mind that an animal possessing great size, strength, and ferocity, and which, like the gorilla, could defend itself from all enemies, would not perhaps have become social, and this would most effectively have checked the acquirement of the higher mental qualities, such as sympathy and the love of his fellows. Hence, it might have been an immense advantage to man to have sprung from some comparatively weak creature. The small strength and speed of man, his want of natural weapons, etc., are more than counterbalanced. Firstly, by his intellectual powers, through which he has formed for himself weapons, tools, etc., though still remaining in a barbarous state, and secondly, by his social qualities, which lead him to give and receive aid from his fellow men. It is quite conceivable that they might have existed or even flourished if they had advanced in intellect whilst gradually losing their brute-like powers, such as that of climbing trees, etc. And natural selection, together with the inherited effects of habit, would have sufficed to raise man to his present high position in the organic scale. Here I finish today's. Shalom.